Phil Jones, thank you very much for coming.
Good to be here.
Would you like to manage your boyhood club Blackburn?
Remember Hadji Diouf coming up to me. He said something along the lines of, it doesn't matter because no one knows you. So if you play well or play crap, then it doesn't matter. And I'm trying to learn Spanish as well.
Oh, I am as well.
Dos cerveza. That's about me, done.
He looked into my eyes and he said, Phil, are you a winner? And I was like, yeah, of course I am. And he said, well, come to us, we win things. I think it's on YouTube now where I've gone to nail him in the middle of the pitch. He's turned me, stuck it through my legs. I've turned around, he stuck it back through my legs.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football. Hey, Sam.
Oh, Nat, how are you?
I'm wonderful again. Sit here back to, well, at least for 45 minutes. We're brilliant, yes.
Because I was doing co-commentary with Andy Morrison Saturday, so I was absolutely delighted that how well City played, and of course I thought it'd be a much tougher game against Newcastle, who'd won 4 away on the trot.
You a good luck charm.
But yeah, it was a really, really good game. Really enjoyed it. And Andy Jock Morrison, I call him Jock, you know what I mean, who ended up playing for City, but he was captain for me at Blackpool in my short time there, so it was great. It's great to see him doing so well, and a terrific game. You know, your hat trick boy.
Yeah.
What's he called? The Prince.
Oh, the Egyptian Prince.
Is it now?
Yeah. I'm a lot happier than I was 2 weeks ago when, do you remember the episode after the Arsenal game? I was inconsolable. Anyway, we've got a very special guest today, one of your absolute favourite players that you've ever managed.
It is that, yeah, he is that, of course. And I had the privilege of working with him at Blackburn Rovers. And I have to say that he was the most talented youngster I ever worked with, even now.
He said that when you've not been in the room as well, by the way.
Even now, I've had a lot of football clubs. I've had probably more Premier League clubs than anybody else. And my life has always been about, they haven't always been a struggle, the clubs I've had. We've built clubs as well, Blackburn at the time where we were, Bolton, West Ham. You know, the other times was a bit of a saves your job. But seeing our guest at Blackburn when we arrived there, and then coming up, youngsters used to come up and train with us, and then everybody just said, we've got to play Jonah. So Phil Jones, thank you very much for coming.
Good to be here.
And it's great to see him.
Feel flattered.
I think the last time I seen him was at the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Emirates Lounge, which is the best lounge in Manchester Airport, by the way. You don't need to worry about having your breakfast or anything like that.
That's when it's open.
Yeah, fly business class. Yeah, if you can.
He's on the tourism board for Dubai, by the way.
He was flying first that day.
I was actually. Yeah, so I spoiled myself. And yeah, I saw him, man. I was just so upset about how many. We might talk about it a bit. Unfortunately, how many injuries occurred, and I didn't realise till we just met this morning. It was just in one particular place, you know what I mean? But obviously, the talent he had, he could play in other positions. He done a job at right back, did a job at centre half, did a job at centre midfield. But I'll always remember winning man of the match against Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then marking Didier Drogba, and meeting his family after, which was a pleasure for me. So, and me ringing up Fergie when after I got sacked and said, "Look, quick, be very, very quick," because there were Arsenal, Tottenham, I don't know about Liverpool, but certainly Man City. But I said, "Look, they're all in for him. Get moving as quick as you can." So he did, and he started off brilliantly. Ended up playing for England, but unfortunately, like every footballer, we always warn them, or we always talk about them. At the height of your career, there can always be an injury around the corner that's can be a tragic blow to your career, And while Phil had a bad knee that continued over a period of time, it's a great shame because he was on the road to an absolutely. I mean, he's had a great career.
Well, you played for England. You've had a great career.
Yeah,
had
a great career, but it would have been so much better.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to have you here. For anybody that doesn't know, what's life now? Because you retired last year.
Yeah, I officially retired last year, but unofficially in my head, I knew I'd finished for a good couple of years. Really struggled towards the end, and like you said, it was unfortunate, but this is football. This is the world we live in. It was tough when I finished. Tough to come to terms with, because in my body I knew I was still fit and healthy, and I knew I still had the qualities, and I knew my talent. I knew what I was good at. I knew what I could bring to the team, but just wasn't able to show it on a regular basis. And I suppose it was no fault of my own. I tried everything, I left no stone unturned, did everything I could to get back to the level, or at least a level I thought I could compete at. But it just wasn't to be. And you got to think about the family as well, and the emotion and the trauma that you cause them as well. You're coming back from training every day. You're not really present with the kids, and you're not interested in what's going on in family life, because your main focus is all you've ever known is playing football, and it's what I love to do. And it was difficult, but listen, I look back now, and the glass is half full. I don't look at half empty. I had a career that I never thought I would have. To come through at Blackburn, my boyhood club, was one of the best feelings I could ever describe. And then to go on to play for Man United and then represent England at 2 World Cups, a Euros, was an incredible achievement. And I look back now with so many fond memories. And but yeah, I do have that little bit of in the back of my mind. If I'd have been available for that game, I'd have loved to play in that game.
Yeah.
And that was the game I really wanted to play in. But listen, I've got to look back with pride, and I do.
But for you now, it's coaching.
Mm.
I imagine that you are loving that. Is it? Are you in Manchester United Academy coaching?
Yeah. No, I listen. When I came out, I didn't know what I wanted to really do, because it happened so abruptly, and I knew I just wanted to play football. Nothing else really mattered. Nothing else really tickled my fancy. So what I did when I finished, I enrolled on a sporting director's course, which hopefully will finish in a few months' time.
Oh, amazing.
I then realised quickly that being out the game, I want to be in the game. I love the game. I love watching young players come through, developing. I love just to watch football. You watch it in a different way now. You don't just watch the game. And it was something that I really ambitious to do. And I went back into United. They were great with me. Was allowed to go and help the 18s out while I was getting the A license. And then I'm currently on the pro license now, which started a couple of months ago. So listen, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying coaching. It's something that, when I was a young player, or a young kid at the time, all you wanted to do was be a player. And now sort of I've switched over to the dark side, if you like, and I want to test myself and take myself out of my comfort zone and test myself in the coaching world. And I know I've got a long way to go and a lot to learn, but I think if I can take the ideas from all the various managers, coaches that I've played under and worked with, then hopefully I can use that to my advantage.
That's a serious list that you've played under as well. Is management the goal?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. Like I think there's definitely steps and progressions to get to that level. I know I've got a lot to learn, but ultimately, like I said, I feel like I've got too much to give, a lot of experience and a lot that I think that I can offer, and hopefully I can bring that to life. And in the next few years, hopefully there's a career path for me.
You say
he's done the sporting director, which is your finish yet?
Yeah.
And he's doing his pro license.
And I'm trying to learn Spanish as well.
Oh, I am as well. I've just started learning.
Oh, dos cerveza. That's about me done.
Una mesa para dos.
So he wants to be a manager, which is head coach now. There's no managers anymore, sadly.
Well, it's head coach, manager, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can be one or the other these days. I don't think you can just be a manager, and I don't think you can just be a head coach. You've got to decide what you want to be.
Like, so, but there's applied management. Unfortunately, he's got to take after this. So you got to go to the PFA, the LMA, and do the applied management course.
So could you be a manager right now?
I think technically,
not in the Premier League.
No, well, I think not that that's going to happen. But
I've got a question for you in a minute that's been sent in. So
no, but I do think there's special. What's the word? Special dispensation for coaches who maybe currently
on the license,
right, but then get offered a job in the Premier League. I think there might be a little.
There's something like if you did get that job, somebody with a pro license has to do
Yeah.
has to do the front up and stuff like that, like you mean. But
there are ways around.
The most important thing is planning how you get there, like you mean. So you where and how far you go.
Well, that leads us nicely into this, because we always ask our listeners for questions. So I'm getting straight in there. First of all, sorry, Peter, I didn't realise that you'd sent a question in that then I asked, which was about Phil's ambitions with coaching, but we covered that. So we're going to Proper Northerner has asked, would you like to manage your boyhood club Blackburn?
Of course he would.
Yeah, of course it would. As I said, as a player, I have so many fond memories there when I was a little kid, growing up through the academy, and Blackburn was my life. My dad carried me over the turnstiles into the ground, watching. I remember watching.
Without paying?
Oh yeah, we used to go under. My dad used to push me under.
Used to carry me over the turnstiles at 10 years old.
Yeah.
I was only joking.
Everyone
know
did
your dad wouldn't do that, so
Oh, we did it.
Listen, Blackburn is my boyhood club. I love watching them. I've always stayed in sort of contact with them. I've always followed them since even when I moved to United. So yeah, of course that would be an incredible achievement. But I've still got a long way to go.
There's one thing I enjoyed at Blackburn, which I hadn't quite had. It was the training facilities. Brockholes, yeah. With Jack Walker, when he turned that football club into a Premier League champions, it was behind the scenes that he developed everything the football club needed, not just buying the players, but making sure that the facilities were.
It's a shame, really, when you see the likes of Blackburn, you see Bolton, Blackpool, Preston, Burnley, Wigan. All these northern clubs. I mean, we used to all be in the Premier League. You used to have at least 6 or 7 games a season where it'd be
in the
a couple of miles.
Yep.
But no, listen. Obviously, that would be incredible achievement, and we'll see.
Just a reminder for our listeners, this isn't a Blackburn podcast. Every week we start talking about Blackburn. I feel like we've got some affiliation with Blackburn now. And I've ended up with a right soft spot for Blackburn as well, because I've said I've been loads of times this season for them, TalkSport as well.
I had a great time there in my time. So I was really, really delighted in the time I spent there. It just wasn't long enough.
Well, I really hope.
What was it? How long was it?
It was 2.5 years.
2.5 seasons.
Yeah, 2.5 seasons. Yeah.
But I really hope that they will at least finish in the playoffs this year. Currently,
they've got a great chance. They've got a great chance.
They have. But they haven't got a manager at the minute. Obviously, we talked about it last week, and then after we talked about it, everything happened, all the changes. Who would you like to see?
Do you know what? I don't even think personnel.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone will have. People have an opinion on the personnel who comes in. I just think it needs somebody who's got real ambition to take the club forward and to improve the team and to hopefully recruit well and Blackburn is a team that should be in the Premier League but has no given right to be in the Premier League, and you've got to earn that right. But like I said, they've got a great chance. They're hopefully in the playoff positions. I think pushing fourth will be difficult with the points gap at the minute. I think it's going to be more like 5th or 6th that'll get it. So, but I think there are quite a few teams in the champ at the minute who, I think there's 6 or 7 teams who've got a great chance of getting the playoffs. So anyone who has a really good run from now until the end of the season will most likely get them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on how good Blackburn are at interviewing for me.
It's a good question, actually, because on the pro license at the minute, you have to have your game model, your presentation. When you get offered a chance to go and speak with a club or whoever that may be, what is it that you're going to provide them that's going to, go down that route? So when you did have sort of your meetings and your interviews, was that always on the back of you had already got the job? We just wanted to know what he was going to do on the job?
Well, I did a few laptop presentations, which in my time is I'm great at what I do, but I ain't great at presentations on my laptop. So I find somebody who's the best at it, and they create a presentation for me, and I go with my presentation, then practice presenting it.
Man management.
So that is, I've heard a lot about how many people have got a job on that presentation, but that's wrong. if I had to give any board members or owners any idea about, it's what's underneath that
I think
presentation.
you can have the best presentation.
If the best presentation gets you the job, it's the person you need to.
Can you take that? Can you take the information what's in your presentation and can you implement that on the pitch? I think we can. I think there's a lot of people who can have these wonderful, sexy words on presentations and make it colourful, but can you actually put that into practice on the pitch? Manage egos, manage players. I think that's half of the battle, is managing players these days.
So I'm just going to throw it out there because I did it when the Bolton job was out there as well. The two of you sat right in front of me. This seems like it would be an obvious choice for Blackburn.
I hardly think, because unfortunately for me, it didn't end well, and with the Venkis, sadly. But I mean, it's their choice. I've no bad blood against them, of course, because they made a decision at that particular time that they were going to move in a different direction, of course. So, but I'm not sure they would even consider me after they'd sacked me. So,
but would you?
Phil.
But would you, if they did consider you? Would you
get him in? Just give him the go. Let him do it. I'm
always
touting
Sam for jobs on this podcast.
You're gonna have to take a chance on a youngster somewhere along the line. If you're worth your salt, somebody who's passionate enough about Blackburn Rovers, who's gonna give his all when he walks in, and he's gonna.
I think that's the problem with young coaches these days. I mean, I know quite a few now who are in current roles of sort of first team coaches up and down the country, who are probably at a point now where they've learned what they needed to learn and developed in their head what they want to practice and how they plan on developing their skills within a club. But it's having that opportunity, and it's like I always say, it's like somebody who wants to be a teacher for a living, and you'll go to schools and you'll put your CV in. They'll say, well, the reason why you didn't get it was because of a lack of experience. But how do you get that experience if nobody's willing to give you that experience? So I feel for them in that respect. But again, it's a lot of it is obviously who you know, and
There's a lot of, you mentioned young managers that have had a chance that have been under pressure. I found it difficult lately. If you're looking at, say, Carrick, Cleverley, obviously Rooney recently got sacked as well. So a lot of young managers that have made in that are under pressure. Do you look at them and still think, no, this is for me. I still want the pressure. I want the...
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I've dealt with pressure throughout my career. I've had to deal with incredible amounts of pressure being at Man United. It's a heavy shirt to wear. There's pressure every time you train. There's some scrutiny around the club, and that's part of being at Man United. You've got to deal with that. And listen, I think the likes of Tom Cleverley, and I think he's done a wonderful job at Watford. Brilliant job. I think you look at the club on a whole has been a bit of a revolving door for the last 4 or 5 years. He's almost sort of cemented and solidified the team, made it his. Got some big results. Won at Middlesbrough the other night, 1-0, which is a massive result for them. And then Carras as well. I played with Michael Carrick, terrific manager, terrific coach. And I think he's done a really good job at Middlesbrough. And I think, he's somebody who I think will fancy a crack at managing in the Premier League one day for sure.
Well, I mean, Michael's got the reputation a bit like Frank Lampard and Wayne Rooney and things like that, where their career's good enough to get them another opportunity if that one hasn't quite worked. If you're working in it. Charlie Adam was here, and he was talking about.
He's back in Everton.
Yeah.
Set piece.
Is he?
Yeah. Well, we've done another one, haven't we?
We've done it. We didn't know that. That's 28, Sam.
Yeah.
People have been on the podcast and then got a job, Phil.
When it was here, that's a big relationship with Moisey, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, he's big mates with Moisey. So, but Charlie was here talking about how he went to work at, I think it was Burnley for nothing.
Yeah.
Just to get in. And he worked his way up a little bit at Burnley. Then he had a bad time at Fleetwood.
I think he's just gaining that little bit of...
So if you keep going, sooner or later somebody will give you an opportunity.
It's always it's like when I signed for Man United, you're thinking, the first day you walk into the club and you're training with them and on tour, wherever it was, Chicago, I think it was. You're thinking,
and you're like this.
You're thinking, geez, am I good enough to be here?
Aye.
Should I even be here?
Yeah.
The caliber of players that are here, and And then the sessions go by and you get a few good touches and stick a few passes in, you put a few players on the backside, and the next thing you're in the door then. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of feeling of knowing where you are and who you are.
And then you have your debut, and Sam mentioned it before. We also had a question in from one of our listeners, John Oliver, who asked, what was it like when you had Drogba in your back pocket on your debut?
I wouldn't say I had him in my back pocket. I think that's... listen, that was an incredible... I mean, it was a whirlwind week, if you like, because I remember we were got hounded with injuries, didn't we? I think Ryan Nelson had just done his knee. Zurab was out with whatever he was out with. There was only the only registered centre half that was fit was Chris Samba. We had two of the reserve centre halves were out injured as well. Yeah. So literally, I mean, I'd trained a few times with the first team, but I was literally next in line. So it wasn't that you really had a choice, to be honest. But I remember in the
you'd played in the cup before that, don't you? Was that?
Yeah, I played in Nottingham Forest. Marking Dele Adebola. So you remember how big he was. I was like this at the time. And we won 1-0. They got a penalty last minute. And Brownie saved it. But yeah, so the leading up to the Chelsea game, I was actually due, believe it or not, to play in the FA Youth Cup away at Chelsea in the under-18s.
Right.
Or it was at home. And then I remember you saying that I was training with you the 2 days before the game. And I remember, I thought it was brilliant the way I used to love it, me. So the day before the game, you used to get the match shirts on the pitch. And then if you were starting, you'd get the match shirt. And I thought it was such a great way of showing like appreciation of like why you're starting for me today. And I enjoyed it anyway. Got the match shirt and I was thinking, I'm starting tomorrow. And I remember warming up on the outside. I remember Hadji Diouf coming up to me. And he said, what did he say? He said something along the lines of, it doesn't matter because no one gives a who you are. No one cares. No one knows you. So if you play well or play crap, then it doesn't matter. And it was quite kind of like, I know he was joking a bit, but it was actually true. No one knew who I was. No one had probably seen me in the youth team or whatever. But yeah, that day was, I remember lining up in the tunnel and there's JT there, Ashley Cole, Ivanovic, Frank Lampard, Anelka, Malouda, Kalou. What a team that was, by the way. I remember the first, because we'd worked on it in training, and I remember that they used to do, well, one of the patterns of play was the cutbacks to Anelka.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
In the sort of the edge of the box. Well, 12 minutes into the game, you can guess how they scored. Cut back to Anelka, near post, 1-0 down. I'm thinking after 10 minutes, this could be a rout.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be part of, this could be my first and last game. And we just slowly sort of started to build our way into the game, managed to get a bit of momentum in the game. Gained a bit of progression up the pitch. And I remember obviously there was the moment that everyone talks about was the sort of the 2-3 tackles in the middle of the pitch where I think I've nailed someone. Frank Lampard's come in, nailed him. Someone's fouled me, got the crowd up, and it was the sort of the catalyst for the game to really come to life and turn the tide a little bit. And then obviously rain started pouring down. I think it was on about 70 minutes. It was a cross from Brett Emerton, and then it was a back post header from Hadji Diouf, and we nicked a 1-1, and we thoroughly deserved the 1-1, to be fair. And I think we had a chance in the last minute to nick it as well. But incredible day, one that I'll never forget. Everyone still talks about it.
Were you 18? Just like you were 18?
I think I was 18. Yeah, just turned as well.
If no one knew you before that game, then they knew your name after that game for sure. For you, Sam,
they'll be monitoring. All the Premier League clubs will be monitoring him after that game. All the scouts would start coming because I used to get a scout list every home game. You know what I mean? And to see what scouts were where and who. But I think probably did you get a new contract straight away or not?
Well, I think I'm not joking. I think I made my debut on, I think it was like 500 quid a week or something. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that's but 500 quid a week compared to the lads who are on like 20, 30s. And
did you get a bonus at least for your debut?
No,
I think it changed quick, obviously. But
my job was to get him on a contract as quick. Telling John Williams, who was the chairman, if you if you don't do this right quick as you can. So you signed a new contract pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, I think it was a few weeks later. I think.
Yeah.
But I
So
remember my second game. You know what my second game was, don't you? Away at Burnley.
Oh no!
Yeah, so my
Not-
second,
Listen.
second game was
at
away at Burnley.
Burnley.
Yeah.
listen, talk about hostile.
Yes.
Now all the Blackburn fans had to accumulate in Blackburn and travel by car.
I didn't let my
I think
mum.
they
I
still
didn't let
do
my
it,
mum
you
and dad go
know.
to that game. I didn't want them to go because I
Yeah.
knew the hostility of the game, and I was only 18 years old. So I'm thinking I don't want to be in the watching from the gate in the stands.
Brutal,
And
by the
Yeah,
way.
worried about
I
your
just
mum and
wanted to
dad.
concentrate on
Yeah.
the game.
It was the
They still are.
atmosphere. The atmosphere was intense.
Fierce, yeah.
You
intense.
were thrown in like Chelsea, then Burnley away.
Yeah, I remember we won 1-0. So I think
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
Martin Olsen dived for the pen, didn't he?
yeah.
Like,
Good old
you
Martin.
do what you got to do. No VAR that game. But yeah, he dived and we done. He took the pen, won 1-0, and yeah, great day.
So when you left Blackburn for Manchester United, did you speak to any other clubs, or as soon as you knew that sort of Sir Alex wanted you, was that it?
So believe it or not, Sir Alex was the last club to come in. I'd spoke to David Moyes. I went to David Moyes' house at Everton when he was, I think he was still based in Preston. Or
Yeah.
I'd spoke to Man City but I think they were going through a time where they didn't really know which managers, and they didn't know whether they were going to change the manager. I can't remember who was in
What year
charge.
was
at the
it?
time.
Was Sparky in charge then?
No,
Or
I
had he
think,
gone?
I think that was when Mancini was coming in.
Mancini,
Or
yeah.
I can't remember, but I don't think there was any. Chelsea as well. They had problems with the manager. They didn't really know who was, and I didn't want to come in knowing who actually wanted me at the club. Who else did I had? Harry Redknapp on the phone. He was brilliant.
Was that Tottenham?
Tottenham. Who else? And then but the story goes where I was in Dubai with my girlfriend, now my wife, and an unknown number rings me. I think I've told the story before, but it rings me, and I don't answer unknown numbers. But I've learned that you have to answer every call now. And it rings again, so my girlfriend's like, "You got to answer it." Anyway, so I've shot out of bed. I've not shot out of bed. I've answered it like half asleep in bed, and he's gone, "Phil, Sir Alex here." I have literally, well, my arse is falling. Literally. So I've answered it, and he just said, "Look, would love to have you United. Would love to meet you in person. Why don't you come over?" I think he was in Nice at the time in his holiday home. Yeah. So flew home the next day, cut the holiday short, and then flew over. And so I was actually going to meet United, and then Arsenal had been in the peripheral as well. So I was actually going to meet Sir Alex and then go to meet Arsenal straight after. There's a funny story in a minute as well on that. So went to meet United. So sat down with Sir Alex, walked in. My agent went upstairs with David Gill to sort finances and see if they could work out a deal. And he literally sat like here, didn't ask me a single question on football for the first 30 minutes. It was all, how's your mum and dad? How were you at school? How were your grades? All about me as a person. And then my agent come back down, and then he looked into my eyes and he said, "Phil, are you a winner?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I am." And he said, "Well, come to us. We win things." And that was it. I literally walked out. I was meeting Arsenal an hour, 2 hours later, and
you can't say that.
I just said to my agent, "It doesn't really matter what anybody's going to offer now. Like,
yeah,
my mind's made, done." But we actually, funny story, we actually got the plane back, and we said to David Gill at the time, we said, "Can you just drop us off at Luton Airport?" He said, "We're meeting up with the 21s," because I was meeting up with the under 21s championships. I said, "Could I just drop us off there, because I think that's where we're meeting around the London area." He was like, "Yeah, if you want." Like, he made a joke saying, "What do you think it is, a bus or something? Like, we'll just drop you off anywhere you want." So he dropped us off at Luton. And I think at the time, I think God bless him, I think he's passed away now, Steve Rowley. He got out the car, and my agent sort of like pushed his head. He's got out of the car, but my agent sort of pushed his head back in the car because we didn't want United knowing that we're meeting Arsenal as well. So he's getting out of the car. My agent pushed his head back in the car like this. I went to meet Arsene Wenger. And listen, he was brilliant and great, but I just didn't get that same vibe, that same feel. and my mind was already made up. But funny enough, actually, when I officially retired, David Gill wrote me a lovely message, to be fair, and he said, "P.S. at the bottom, don't think I didn't know what you was doing when you got."
He's clever like that, David. Yeah.
Wow.
United miss him as well as Sir Alex, don't they?
And then, of course, as you mentioned, it was a phone call to Sir Alex from you saying...
Well, it wasn't. He was already on the radar, but I just...
We played in the FA Youth Cup game against United. This was I think this was before I even made my debut for Blackburn. We played FA Youth Cup and played at Ewood Park, and we absolutely bullied them, kicked them off the park. And I think Warren Joyce actually says to me, he told me a story a few years ago about how Josh King made his debut in the first team, and we played in the FA Youth Cup against him the following week, and me and Grant Hanley at the time, we kicked 7 bells out of him, like literally, like every time he got the ball, whack. Played a bit of football as well, by the way. Won 3-0, but then Warren Joyce says that he was in the change room after the game. Sir Alex came down and said that was the end of Josh King. He said that so along the lines of like killed him basically. So yeah.
Wow.
Grant had a good career, didn't he? Grant?
He's at Birmingham. He's had a great career. Listen, captain in Norwich. Made hundreds of appearances internationally.
Scotland.
Had a great career.
When you join that Man United team, you walk into that dressing room, because I mean, some of the names. I mean, is it intimidating? Like, what is it like when you first walk in and see all those players?
We've got to remember, I've grown up watching these players, and Ryan Giggs, Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, Patrice Evra, so many good players. Scholes, unbelievable. I remember we met up because it was we'd been to the under-21 championships in Denmark, and we met in Chicago. I remember I walked in on the first day, and I was so nervous the night before, so nervous. Walked in, and Scholes is there having his breakfast, and I'm thinking, this ain't real. This ain't real. Like, what? Am I in the right place? It just felt so surreal. I can't even put it into words. I'd grown up idolising, watching these players, how good they were, and you're training with them. You're part of their team. You're part of their culture now. And
did you have to do a sing song?
Do you know what? Do you know what? I got away with the initiation.
Did you get away with it?
I got away with the initiation. But I tell you what, though, I don't mind a sing
Lucky
song.
devil.
Don't mind a little karaoke. So.
Do you want to do your Man United initiation now?
Listen, I don't need.
You got away with it.
I don't need any incentive to get on the mic. But no, incredible. My first game for United was away, obviously in Chicago. We kicked off at 2:00 in the afternoon, 2 p.m. It must have been about 70. I don't know what it was. It was absolute. It was that hot.
And the humidity.
I couldn't even. We got brought off because obviously rotating. We got brought off on 60 minutes. I don't think I've been as happy to come off in my life. I was so buzzing to come off. The subs had to get changed and just stay in the changing room basically because it was that hot for them on the bench. But yeah, it was good tour. Came back. Community Shield game was a mad one where we're 2-0 down. I'm on the bench. Me, Chris, Tom come on at half time. We end up winning the game 3. I'm not saying it was us, by the way, but we end up winning the game 3-2, where Nani rounds the keeper and dinks it over him. So that was a great few weeks.
Who was the nicest with you? Who did anyone sort of take you under the wing when you first go?
Yeah, I mean, Giggsy was always class. Just has a class about him, like the way he looked after players. But on the flip side, I think there was a point in training where I'd given the ball away in training, as you do. You're still 18 years old, don't forget. So you're still immature. You still do things that you're a bit naive. And I think I've passed the ball and it's not got there, and I've gone like this or thrown my hands in the air, and he just pulled me, went, "You don't do that, yeah." And I was just, honestly, I just thought, wow. Like, and that was it. I never did it again. Tell me once, that's all I need to know. Did it again, didn't do it again. And I think I slowly, I understood what it was like to play for. I think the biggest point I understood was when we played Stoke away and we drew 1-1 in the last minute. I was marking Crouch on corners. Must have had about 20 corners in the last minute.
Yeah.
I'd won every header. Ball got stuck in the air. Last minute, bang, 1-1. Got into the change room after the game, and I'm thinking 1-1 away at Stoke. It's not a bad point, that. Well, Rio soon brought me back down to earth in the changing room after the game. But that's when I really understood the magnitude of playing for Man United and the expectation of the level of performance that has to be put in week in and week out. Like there's no margin for error. And I suppose that's the beauty of playing for one of the best club in the world is there's no margin for error.
Yeah.
Dealing with the speaking, Sir Alex, dealing with the expectation of the whole season, and he said, "Sam, you can't lose two games on the trot at Man United. It's a disaster." So the players have to get used to the fact that not winning is unacceptable at any time of the season whatsoever. And the difficulty that the mentality that has to grow with that, and the determination mentality, which is what they were all about, which is what Man City are all about now, which is what Liverpool have started to do again. It's not they can't ease off no matter what.
It's a mentality thing. Like even for me, even in training, like you shouldn't be accepting like losing like even little 5-a-side game. You shouldn't be accepting losing like that's the level you're at. That's the level you've got to get to and aspire to, and that's the version of yourself you've got to bring every single day, whether it's training, whether it's matches, you've got to show it. And
So as somebody that was there when Sir Alex Ferguson was there, and that's there, to somebody that retired last year at a very different club, did that drop off then?
Well, clearly it's dropped off. I mean, listen, I love Man United. I love Blackburn. They're two of the clubs I will always have so many great memories. Look, Man United are in a really, really difficult moment. And I think it's been a sort of progression over the last 4 or 5 years, how we've got to where we are. It's sad to see, but I think it was always going to get probably worse before it gets better. Difficult result the other night again at Tottenham. Maybe could have nicked a draw, but it's difficult to see where we can improve it, where it can get better. And I know it needs to. I don't know. It's really difficult. It's really difficult to talk about because I'm so fond of the club. I love the club. I love the people there. I love the players, and it's really sad to see at the minute. But I think what I would say as well, but working in and around the academy for the last 2 years, and just helping and watching those young players develop. They've got some really, really good talented young players coming through. Really good talented young players. You see I know they had a lot of injuries yesterday, and the bench was full of the kids, but there's some talented players on that bench yesterday, and I know people might not know a lot about them now, but they certainly will do in the next few years.
Well, Man United have always prided is not the word, themselves on that academy.
But it's not just talent. They won't make it just with talent. I've seen some of the most skillful players in the lower divisions, but never had the mentality. Never had the mentality or the ability psychologically to cope with the top league.
Jamie's message just asking about, so Man United have had the highest net spend since 2019.
I've seen the stat yesterday after the game.
Right.
Is that what I saw it going around on social media? Is that what it was from? 810 million net spend since 2019. And the question from Jamie is, apart from Bruno Fernandes, do you feel like any of the signings made in that time have actually improved the team?
Trying to go through.
I'm only looking at the youngsters who might be coming through, young and good prospects.
Well, I think you look at Kobe Mainoo, top player. You look at the likes of Cheeto, who we've just signed from Arsenal, who's an animal. He's going to be.
How old is he?
I think he's just turned 17 or 18.
Okay.
Listen, he's gonna have a great career, albeit, like Sam said, you have the right mentality, but I think he does. You look at Ahmad, who went out on loan and had a couple of really good loans, come back and has had. I remember watching him last season against Liverpool, where he won it for them in extra time, the last minute, and I thought, And I said right there and then
Yeah.
that this Ahmad will play a huge part next season.
He
And I
came through the
play.
academy?
Well, no, he didn't come through the academy. I played against. I played with Ahmad for a year or two, and you could see then that the quality he had with manipulating the ball and committing players and 1v1 situations. He was really good, really strong, and a good kid as well. So, listen, I think they've got a good crop of young players that are ready and ready to sort of step in and be integrated into the first team if and when called upon.
That's great, but I mean, it's Man United fans want it now.
Yeah, they need now, not
Their
in 6
patience
months.
has been worn pretty thin, like I mean, by a purely and simply not finding the right players, and they've had brilliant coaches. Brilliant.
I think the one.
You know what I mean? You've had you've had Bengal, you've had Jose. You know what I mean? You know.
I really like the new manager.
Even Ollie did a great job. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the new manager coming has shown a lot of, and I love his honesty and the transparency he's had between the fans and the players, and obviously everyone says it's going to take time. It is going to. He already made the point when he signed that it might get worse before it gets better, and hopefully we can give him what he wants and he can turn things around.
But Phil, the biggest problem about giving him what he wants is finding the money again to give him what he wants, and who does he want, and if he, I talk about the fact that when you worked with me in the short period of time you did, I wouldn't play the same way every week. I'd be asking you to march out.
Well, I think
I'd be.
But I think this is
setting out my.
This is a good topic though. It's a good point on how you manage, how you coach these days, and we talk about stubbornness in management. And at what point do you? I'm not talking about United here. I'm talking about different. I'm just talking about in football in general. And what point do you swallow your pride a little bit and say, well, this isn't really working at the minute. So, are you going to stick to what you do and just stick by your guns and everything that you've worked for? The reason why the club's brought you in. This is what I'm doing. I ain't changing for nobody. Do you carry on with that route, or do you try and tweak things so it's not ripping up the rule book or your philosophy and going out the window? We'll scrap that and we'll move on to the next philosophy or game model. You've got to try and tweak things within the system with different players. I think there's a lot of conversation around stubbornnness with managers and coaches these days. And
well, it's the brainwashing, isn't it? It's the brainwashing is like sad. The brainwashing by even the white noise has an effect on the brainwashing. It costs a lot. The only person who didn't cost a job and got a better job was, obviously.
I think in hindsight, everyone would love to play attractive football where,
of course it would.
You're exciting, edge of the seat stuff. Every manager will tell you the same thing that they want to play, but it all depends on so many variables. It depends on budgets, it depends on players, personnel, coaches. Depends on where you are in the season. If you take over halfway through the season, what's the aim for the rest of the season? There's so many variables that go in. It's okay having a philosophy and a model, and this is the way I play, this is the way I want to play, but it depends on so many variables. It's not a case of
this is the falseness of the game. Right?
Yeah.
This is how false it is in the portrayal. Nottingham Forest never get more possession than the opposition, or hardly ever do.
Yeah.
Right. But he's not getting criticised.
Yep.
So, why is he not getting criticised?
Because he's winning.
Correct.
As a coach, you've got to look at what traits and qualities you've got within that team that you can get results from. I think with head coaches and managers these days, especially English, British manager, I think that they get better leverage by leaving the UK.
Yeah.
Going to
many have said that on here.
Different European countries and almost leveraging themselves a little bit better to come back and say, well, listen, I've took, and you've got a chance, you go to Denmark or you go to Sweden, you've got a good chance of playing Europa League football, Champions League football. And you
I think Scott Parker jumps to mind when you
look at Graham Potter, he went and managed Östersunds in Sweden. The managers who are sort of benefiting from that now are in the Premier League.
Yeah. If we're going to pull it back to Amorim for a minute, in terms of what you're saying, and we've said it before about.
I think he's got to change, Nat. I think he's got to give himself a little bit of a breather, and I think the players. There's nobody in the team who's going to knock on his door and say, "Gaffer, don't change it." Tony Adams did it with Arsene Wenger. What are you doing to us? We don't play with the back four, fat five. You know what I mean? You leave the back four to me. We'll be all right. And apparently that's.
I think it's difficult because he's been brought in to play. They've brought him in because of what they've seen at Sporting and the system that he's played and how effective it has been for Sporting. So, like he says, for him to then just come in and say, "Well, we'll go to a back four now," he's going.
Swallow your pride, though.
He's going. Yeah, he's got.
Swallow your pride.
He's going against his grain.
I was told that's why Liverpool didn't want him.
Because he was too.
Because Liverpool didn't want to play that way. Liverpool board, or who was ever in charge of developing, saying Liverpool don't play this way. You know what I mean? So that's where they went for.
Michael Owen has apparently said that Amorim has done nothing to make United better since he's been there. So it's 12 Premier League games, 8 losses in his last 12 Premier League games. Has he done anything to make them better so far?
No. You can stand. You can only stand on your results in the end. And if you're the reputation you came from, you can't argue with how brilliant he was in Portugal. You can't argue with it.
Yeah.
And it looks like the fact that he's got only one system that would be. But I saw him change to a back four when I went watching.
I've been there, by the way. You know what? When you're struggling for confidence and form within the club, confidence within your own performances on the pitch, you know, the ball comes to you in the first 5 minutes and, you know, you don't quite see the pass, you miss that opportunity, you try and do a little turn on the ball to go back, I've been there, and it's a horrible place to be. You know, some people, all clubs, when the confidence is low, you know, you show for the ball at centre half, but you're showing in a way where
I don't really
give it me, but don't give it me. But I look like I'm showing for it.
Yeah.
But it's a horrible place to be, and somehow they need to get that confidence back and just try and energise the team.
Clean sheets is the only way forward back. I keep going on about I should be called Mr. Clean Sheets. But clean sheets breeds confidence, breeds life into the team.
Mr. Clean Sheet, you should watch Burnley
Clean
this year,
Sheet,
by the way.
yeah.
Burnley is your team this year.
That should be the rebranding of the podcast, Mr. Clean Sheet.
Before we move on from Manchester United, have you got any hopeful message for Manchester United fans? Are things going to get better? What do you think is going to happen? What would you like to see happen?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, I've said it in the past, but from my side, going through the club, through the good times and the bad times, they were always brilliant to me. And I remember, I'll never forget the game I had when I made my comeback after my knee, the 15th operation on my knee, whatever it was, against Wolves, and the support, you know, it gives me goosebumps now thinking about it, walking off the pitch. And it was a really emotional day for me because I'd not played, my kids were able to come and watch, and even though I sat in that change room after the game, we spoke off air before about, I knew I was done after that game. The reception that they gave me, and they've always been great off the pitch now. Whenever I see them in and around Manchester or whatnot, they're fantastic. But they are the best fans. Honestly, they are the best fans in the world, and they will stick with that team through thick and thin. And they will follow that club, and they will support that club through the darkest and the deepest of times. And, you know, just stick with it. There will be good times ahead. I'm sure of that. How long that will take, I don't know. How long's a piece of string? We just don't know. But they are incredible, and the support that they show, the away games, some of the away games is just
I could hear
incredible.
Yesterday, I could hear
incredible support.
United fans more than Tottenham fans.
Away fans.
Of course, they're frustrated at the minute, like we all are. Of course, they want more. Of course, they want better results. Of course, they want to see the club moving in a positive direction. But, you know, stick with it, and the good times hopefully will be not too far around the corner.
So before we move, we've got loads of other football things to quickly to talk about as well. But I just wanted to quickly touch on as well, because when you retired last year, you spoke about the kind of mental health aspect of what had happened to you over the years. And I just thought it was, at the time, it was so brave to come out, because we don't hear footballers talking about the social media abuse. I remember you talked about feeling nervous walking down the street in case people were going to say, what was it? Did you speak to your family? Why did you feel that you wanted to share that?
I think I was at a point where I was sick of people telling my story for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to tell my story. I was sick of people trying to interpret my story when it was completely far from the truth. And I was just
it would get over exaggerated and personal and stuff like that.
I was at a point in my life where I was just, you know what, I'd come to a point where I had a bit more self-respect. I had a bit of respect for myself, more respect, and I'd lost that. And I think I'd lost that really because of the injury to my knee. And, you know, I knew that, you know, it's embarrassing. You're always out injured, but it was always my knee. It wasn't like a muscle injury here, tear here, my ankle, it was just my knee, and it was just the pathology of what my knee was. But I got to a point where I was just a bit like, I've had enough. Like, I'm going to have a bit more respect for myself. I'm going to be open and honest and transparent with everyone, and I'm just going to front up and this is who I am, and if you like it, great, and if you don't like it, great. There's no problem with that. And I'm such a good place now. You know, family life and football's always my focus, and my wife, my kids, they know that. Took the girls yesterday to go and watch the women play against Crystal Palace, and they enjoyed it. So look, I love football. I love being around it. It's my ambition. It's my goal. It's what I want to do. I'm sure of that. But yeah.
I'm not a footballer, but the level of trolling I get at the minute is something else. And to have it at the level you must have had it at, I don't know how you cope. So yeah.
Well, we've got enough technology now. We've got enough technology to nail them, but the big 4 or 5 ignore it, don't they?
Oh, Sam, it's exhausting.
You know what I mean? I mean, we know, but the government's just so frightened of fighting against the big 5 and making sure they do it. That's the trouble, because so the governments are not ruling the country. The big 5 are with what they're giving and what they're producing. You know what I mean? And what they're delivering financially is why they get away with what they want to get away with. So, you know, but then again, of course, when you look at what's happening in this country at the moment, where people who praying quite privately can be put in jail. I mean, what's Keir Starmer doing when somebody can be praying privately, got put in jail for it? So why don't he why is he letting the criminals out?
I do think in this country now
they're putting somebody in jail who says something in Twitter or actually praying quietly on their own and getting found guilty. But you know, it's just ridiculous what this country has become like. I mean, so you know, we're supposed to be talking football, I know, but I get really frustrated.
There's so many people I know these days that are moving countries and just getting up and going, and I think they are making it increasingly harder to live and to survive in this country.
Back to football anyway.
Back to football. Right, other football things that have been going on that I want to get both your thoughts on. Marcus Rashford, obviously you played with him, and our research tells us it was 72 times, by the way, if you didn't know. He's at Villa. Mm-hmm. Do you both think, is it going to be a success? Could he reach his heights that he had a few years ago?
I think his biggest turning point of his career is what he does at Villa between now and the end of the season. You know, and I think that remember Jesse Lingard?
Yeah.
The biggest mistake Jesse Lingard did was not staying with David Moyes at West Ham.
West Ham, yeah, he had a great opportunity.
And he should have.
At Forest.
He should have made sure, as long as Moyes, I'm sure Moyes must have wanted him for what he did. I mean, he gave him another dimension, didn't he?
Yeah.
And whatever it cost at West Ham, and I don't know whether it was Jesse's fault or what, he went to Forest, didn't he? But
I think they could have got it done at West Ham.
Yeah.
Going back to Marcus, Marcus is unbelievably talented player. Honestly, when he came through, when I was there, he was incredible. Like the way he dribbled with the ball, the way he could just take a touch, and you didn't even have to beat you, and just stick one in the top corner, and the pace and the speed that he committed players with. Unbelievable talent, honestly, unbelievable talent, and it's really, really sad to see like where his career in the last sort of 18 months has stalled, but I would love nothing more than Marcus Rashford to one, and I said it, I just fall in love with football again. Score goals for Aston Villa with a smile on his face. I'd love nothing more than that to happen. And do you know what? I think most of United fans think that as well.
I think most football fans
fans think he deserves a little bit of a break. He gets so much criticism and so much scrutiny that the way he lives
He has
his
brought
life.
some of that on himself, though, hasn't he?
I can
what
accept
he's been
that.
done, caught out, flying off or doing something that he shouldn't be doing at the wrong.
But he's got incredible amounts of talent, incredible amounts.
So other things this week, Roy Keane has criticised James Maddison, and then James Maddison said that he saw it and then he scored to shush him. I'm having it. I'm here for it. What do you think of that? What do you think of the idea? There's a lot of ex-players, and look, hey, we have a podcast, we sit and talk about football. There's a lot of ex-players that say things very publicly about it.
Well, you've got to keep your audience up, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So controversy is a big part of. It's more about controversy and criticism than it is about praise. Sadly, you can make your reputation if you're controversial, more than about if you're talking about the game from an educational point of view, an experience point. Somewhere along the line, you've got to throw controversy in there, and that will create an image for you, or let's get him on, or let's do it. And this is not Roy being any different to what he normally is.
You've obviously been, as a player, first-hand of former players saying things about you. And there was a famous one with Rio Ferdinand criticising you for staying at Man United.
Yeah.
And then he's since come out and apologised.
We did it. I went on his podcast, Rio Presents. I went on his podcast. Listen, I've known Rio for years. He apologised. It's no problem. And again, I don't hold any bad grudges or whatever. Difficult at the time, obviously, when he said it, I was a bit like, Rio, you could have just rang me. You know what I mean? You could have just texted me, but listen, it is what it is, no problem at all. I'm used to dealing with that sort of stuff, and at the time, as I said, it was a bit, you look at it and you think, I don't know where that comment's really come from, but I was struggling at the time.
He was probably just joining in what the rest of the people were saying about you, Phil, but he knew you better than that, don't he? I mean, that's the sad thing about that.
Yeah, but to be fair, I went on his podcast.
Rio knew you, I mean, the others who were doing it don't know you, do they? They don't know. But anyway, he's apologised, which is, and we can all make a mistake, and I think as long as you apologise and you move on,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of other things. Obviously, City take on Real Madrid on Wednesday. Any chance? Give them any chance?
I wouldn't have done after the game the other night, but after the result that they got against Newcastle at the weekend, a bit of momentum, the way they won the game, the convincing nature in the way they won the game.
It's the hope that kills you, Phil.
you know what happens?
Look, if anybody can do it, City can.
Yeah.
City can go there and do it.
You know how they're going to do it?
Oh, last minute, just give me out attack.
No, you know how they're going to do it? Get a clean sheet.
If the man is right.
Man City get a clean sheet, it'll go through.
That means scoring twice in the Bernabeu, which I think
it's doable. It's doable.
I've never seen Real Madrid defend like they defended against Man City last season. I came to that game live with my grandson, and I was looking forward to this game, and it was never open from start to finish. Man City dominated possession the entire game, but Real Madrid managed to score one, and then that's enough. And I thought, wow. Ancelotti has manufactured this way to play. So they haven't played like Real Madrid. So everybody talks about playing this way and only play. Real Madrid blocked off Man City brilliantly that game. And I came to watch this game and I was astonished on how good they were at defending that 1-0. So it was normally you see the Real Madrid they'll come back from 2-0 down to win 3.
Frightening.
Absolutely frightening.
But they can do it.
Thank you.
But people have written them off, which is a good thing.
You think?
I always think underdogs being pretty good. And if anybody's used to playing at Real Madrid, Man City are.
Oh yeah. Well, my stomach just jumped there when you said.
Bernabeu, yeah.
A little bit sick there. I'm not looking forward to it. Looking forward to it all. Okay, finishing off with some questions that we've had sent in for you again, Phil. So Daniel has asked, with Paul Pogba available to play again from next month, do you think that should be an option that Man United should explore again?
No, I don't think it's one that they will look to explore. I think they'll probably see that they've done that once and brought him back from Juventus. Probably didn't work as well as what they would have thought and would have liked. So I can't see that one happening now.
Why did Sir Alex get rid of him?
Yep.
I think Paul will end up in Saudi or somewhere like that.
Okay, next question we've had. Who was your toughest ever opponent?
Me.
Toughest opponent. I've had a few, to be fair.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have.
Had a few nightmares.
Let's talk about the Premier League and then talk about internationally.
Oh, yeah, good one.
Well, internationally, the best player I've ever played against was Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
He was
okay, mic drop.
He was an absolute joke in that game.
We'll give you that 100%. Yeah, go on.
I've gone to nail him in the middle of the pitch. I think it's on YouTube now. I've gone to nail him in the middle of the pitch. He's turned me, stuck it through my legs. I've turned around, he stuck it back through my legs.
No.
You shouldn't have admitted that.
Hey,
everybody's going to look that one up now.
With a big band around me head because I had a cut the game before. He internationally by far him. In the Premier League, I always found it really tough playing against Suarez. He had this knack of, and I'm probably doing him a disrespect. He had this knack of like playing a 1-2 off your shins and somehow wriggling out with the ball.
With it, yeah.
The
ricochet.
Drive me insane. But he was clever with his movement. He wasn't absolutely lightning quick, but the short, sharp burst he used to have was really good. And I used to struggle playing against Suarez. Yeah.
Okay, I think we could all accept those two names.
Absolutely.
100%. And next question in for you. You played 38 times with Vidic, which, by the way, as a Man City fan, Vidic is one of my favourite Premier League players of all time. 38 times with Vidic, 55 times with Ferdinand. Who was better? No fencing.
That's like choosing between your mum or your dad.
That's a tough one, that one.
Listen, they've both got different...
Sit on the fence and say...
Right, I'm on the fence.
Get on the fence there.
Nemanja Vidic was is the best header of the ball I've ever played with. It doesn't matter what size of centre, because he wasn't like the biggest, by the way, but unbelievable timing of a header was incredible. He was an animal on the pitch. Defensively, rock solid. So
was he defensively slightly better than Rio? But
I'd probably...
Rio was probably more all-round.
Yeah, I mean, Rio was more all-round. Like,
really
with the ball at his feet, Rio would...
Yeah.
Pretend to play it back to the keeper, and he'd have this shape it back to the keeper and just chop out the other side and just break the lines straight away. And he had incredible ability with the ball, Rio. Yeah, just game understanding.
So he's sitting on the fence.
Yeah, sitting right on the fence. I ain't moving from that fence. Not with that one.
Splinters and all is
Splinters
good.
up his bum.
Right, the last question for you. Take yourself back to you were telling us about the story when Sam gives you your shirt. You're making your debut for Blackburn Rovers. 18-year-old Phil. What would you go back if you could now? One piece of advice you could say to that Phil in that moment.
Good question. Probably not to take things for granted. Playing every week, you don't take it for granted. Like, the problems I had with my knee. Not to, I always say in football that when you win, you get probably 24 hours to, whether it's a defeat or a win, you get 24 hours. Enjoy it or suffer, and then move on. You can't dwell on football. Football waits for nobody. And it's soon the next game. I don't know. It's a really tough question. Just at times to back myself a little bit more. I think through the middle part of my career, I didn't back myself, and that was through a lack of confidence, a lack of form. And it's all right saying back yourself, but how do you back yourself? How does that come? Well,
it wouldn't have happened that if you hadn't had the injuries you had, though, would it? Because you would have got more experience, more confident, more.
I think when people
yourself, but once injuries start, and one particular injury keeps coming back, then doubt comes into your mind, and then it drains your confidence a little bit.
I knew
You know what I mean?
the ability I had and what I brought to the team. I'm not saying I was one of the best players by far, but I knew the qualities I had to play for Man United, and I had to play for Man United for a long time and a sustained period. And I just at times wasn't able to give that because of obviously what I had, and that was the most disappointing thing for me. But yeah,
I like that though. Back yourself and don't take it for granted.
Yeah,
that's advice we
It's
could all.
over in a flash.
it is. It's a real. And people say to me, "When you're 18 years old," and I'm sat here now
Gosh.
saying to younger players, "It's a short career. Make the most of it."
Yeah.
My 7-year-old son said to me the other day, "The days are long, but the years are short, Mummy."
Very true.
So,
He's a philosopher at 7.
$1 million question is, if the right club and the right opportunity came about.
The answer is yes.
well, the answer would be yes now. I mean, because you know, I've always people. I've spoke to many people, Phil, that says eventually you get over it. Like, you mean, you learn to, you know, move up and be like, I haven't, like, really, because I get the. I mean, it's probably in 2 years now, and 2 seasons. Like, you mean, and people say it gets less and less and less, but it hasn't got less and less for me. Sit there at home sometimes and go, oh, you know, I should be waking up like sweating. Yeah, you know what I mean? Waiting to get to the game, thinking that one lad's got you go. And it's just an addiction that you find very difficult to get rid of.
I live in constant fear that he's going to get a new job, which I'd be really happy for him. But then the podcast will be over. So be very, very happy for him. We try and work it around it. Thank you so much for coming on.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck, Phil.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Nat, as always.
Thank you very much. I'll see you next week.
Thank our followers, our subscribers, for instance. Keep following, keep subscribing.
Well,
the more we get, the better we get, hopefully.
Want to see Sam holding one of those YouTube play buttons at some point as well. That'd be amazing. So yes, thank you very much. We will be back next week with another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football.